Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Drop Frames. Sorry, there was hammering going on. Yeah, they're building a set, so there's hammering and maybe even sawing later. And Zeke, I got to once again.
Are you watching Scrooged?
Yeah, Scrooge is actually on. He's getting
Yep.
he's getting upset.
Stop the goddamn hammering!
Do you practice that? That's like exceptionally. I mean, that's very close to Mr. Bill Murray. It's very good.
That it's because it is one of my favorite Christmas movies, and that line in particular, like
Yeah.
I remember watching it for the first time and just tears, just laughing myself into tears.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Co, what episode are we on?
7361.
7361. Glad to be here. This is, I think, the final show of 2018 because next week is the 26th. I'm gone. The week after that is the Game of the Year show on the 2nd. We're doing the 2nd, by the way. It's been decided. It's January 2nd, the Wednesday. So it'll be the normal Wednesday airing.
Yeah.
Also, the community vote actually went live this morning. So if you guys want to vote, it's over at itmeJP/GOTY.
Is there a tweet on the Drop Frames tweet about that?
No, I was actually going to tweet that out here once I tossed the show over to one of you two. Because, yeah, it just went live, I think, like minutes before the show went up. So
Great.
it should have. I did some perusing. You have to log in. You have to have a Twitch account to log in. But it should have. If there's a game missing, let us know. I guess just tweet the Drop Frames Twitter at Drop Frames and let us know if there's a game missing. But it should have everything that came up this year. What else is there? Oh, last thing, if you do want to grab the show via the audio version, you can check out iTunes, Spotify, wherever else podcasts are available. And that's it. We're done. We'll see you next week. Or
Bye.
We're done promoting everything. We're going to get out of here. No, we have some games to talk about. Is that Atlas thing live yet, Co? I know you've been keeping an eye on it.
You can go to playatlas.com and there is a large countdown timer, and we currently have 4 hours and 56 minutes. So it looks like it's going to be going live today at about 6 p.m. EST. I'm going to be checking it out actually first thing in the morning at 9 a.m. But yeah, not going to make it today, unfortunately.
I wonder how that'll go. I wonder if that if that's going to be a smooth launch.
There's a lot of red flags about this one, to be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Besides the early access thing being delayed, what are some of the other red flags?
The fact that they haven't released any gameplay really yet. And the game is like early access tomorrow. So it's and also this is the company that made Ark, which has been in like super PR mode with Ark and has been really good about getting out like gameplay vids and interviews and stuff. And we've seen almost none of that for Atlas. Like they aren't taking their PR team around to different places and like really trying to drum it up.
Right.
Which has a lot of people like me concerned. Like they aren't showing gameplay. They aren't trying to amp it up. I wonder if they know it's not really in a good state right now. Like maybe servers are crashing or it's super laggy or now hopefully I'm just overthinking it and it's going to come out tomorrow and be good. A lot of people have also been comparing it to the Ark release, which I don't think is really fair. Everyone's like, oh, well, Ark came out and it took it months to get decent. It's super buggy. And it's like, yeah, but going off that thinking, if this is by the same devs, then all those problems should be fixed for Atlas. Like, it's not like they're changing engines or anything. Apparently, it's just like, this is a reskinned Ark kind of thing. So it could bode very well for it. Maybe it's going to be a lot better than people are anticipating because all that stuff has already been kind of dealt with.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's true. I guess we'll see you later today. I know I saw, at least on Twitter, there was a bunch of big streamers that were interested in checking it out. So they'll, I guess, get a stress test later today if people like Dr. Disrespect and others are going to be jumping in to see how it goes. So
I got to say, though, like the feature set for Atlas is nuts. If you have a few minutes, you should go to the Steam page and unfurl like the About This Game section. If they actually get in everything they're wanting to in Atlas and they get it all working well, it's going to be like ridiculous. Like fully player-owned ships with NPC and PC crews, nations that you can form that are taxable, building anywhere. You can build ports, you can build shipyards, and then build your own ships. Like it's huge. Quick side note: what the hell, Zeke?
Oh, so I got a really late start today, and I'm not kidding, my eyes are like irritated by my lighting. and I was just like blinking nonstop. So I tried to. This is the only fucking pair of sunglasses I could find that were like readily available.
That's not really a pair of sunglasses. That's a black rectangle over your face. It looks like there's something blue underneath it.
It's like my eyes were edited for television.
I was really confused because Go very rarely will sidetrack from his conversation, but yeah, he just went off on Zeke, and I was paying attention to what was going on the Steam page. So that was very yeah. Feel free to leave them on. It's already explained. Unless you have some others.
No, I'm gonna go. They're not comfortable. They're like really just a joke. They don't really do much. They hurt my nose.
Gotcha.
I'll be back. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah. Get yourself some sunglasses. Yeah. So this is this was not at the Game Awards. This trailer right here. So I guess this is a little bit of the gameplay. I don't know.
No, I think this was actually the Game Awards trailer.
Was it? Okay. All right. Maybe it was.
I think because they show this part and then they show them fighting the big beast in the water and throwing spears at him, and then they show the end is like the big maelstrom. Like here's this guy. Look at the guy in the very bottom center. What's he even throwing at? Anyway, so it looks like it could be cool. If it actually works out well, it could be like really, really cool. Like what I've been saying, it could be like an actual Sea of Thieves with like RPG, like with content. Another big thing they're doing that I didn't realize, if you look down around the character section, apparently there's 15 disciplines and like 200 skills.
Holy shit.
Again, just like pie in the sky stuff. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm very apprehensive about it. Only because
300. Excuse me.
300. Good God. Okay. I'm very apprehensive because I feel like on paper everything that like this game has going like this. What the fuck? That just looks insane. On paper, this game has like a ton of stuff going for it, but when it comes to the actual gameplay, I always question like how the gameplay does not warrant or does not look like something that would have all of this stuff in it. It seems very like primitive almost, I guess is how I would describe it. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. We'll have our eyes on it.
That's another thing. I'm wondering like how much of these features right here are not going to be in early access.
Right.
Like I'm sure we're not going to get every one of those features when it releases. I'd be very surprised, pleasantly surprised if we did. But it's like, maybe all the cool stuff isn't even in the game yet and may not be for months to years. Like, again, they're being really, it's kind of weird because they really put the project out there, especially with the Game Awards. But ever since then, they've been really pretty quiet about it. And then they pushed it back a week without explaining why. And now we'll see today what that reason was, I guess. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering if it's going to be like, if it's going to give the people the same feeling that I had with Ark, where I'm going to be really into it for like a very short amount of time. Like it's going to be like, I'm going to dig deep for like, I'm going to put 40 hours into it and then I'm going to forget about it forever.
Yeah. Well, I guess to counter that, Ark was unbelievably successful as a game on Steam and on Twitch. Or, well, I guess also on Twitch to some extent. When it started, it was. But
I'm talking about like me personally. Yeah.
Right.
Or people like me.
Oh, I'm in the same boat as you, but I feel like to make sure that the game gets credit for where credit's due, it was amazingly popular on Steam. It was on the top 10 list for a very long time and still might even be there in some degree.
Had like 2 successful expansions since.
Yeah. So they might have enough of the this will sound negative, but there might be enough Kool-Aid in that audience to just warrant a purchase for them and kind of move on to the next game. Which then means, they're going to have some server issues. Although if it's anything like Ark, I think you can just host your own servers. So maybe that's not going to be a thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They're being like, I was looking actually for information about if private servers would be available for this, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Like everything is on lockdown right now.
All right. Well, we will see. It goes live later today. I'm sure a bunch of people are going to be playing on Twitch. Let's jump into.
There is going to be modding though, which is going to be awesome.
You mean like mods for the game, not modding in servers?
Like from what I understand, user created mods.
Oh, okay. I think Ark had some of that, didn't it? Everyone told me that was like the preferred way to play Ark, actually, was to use a bunch of mods to make the game look and run better, but I never did that. I just played the base game. Let's start with old cool guy over there wearing his sunglasses. I wouldn't,
Mr. Cool Guy over there.
Yeah. Let's talk about. I'm gonna mess this up now because we said it 4 or 5 different ways yesterday. Let's talk about
Groot.
Greece.
Just call it Groot.
Groot. All right, let's talk about Groot. Now, also, I before I pull this
Groot.
up and before you jump into it, what part of the VODs can I show that aren't spoilery, or do I just show the trailer on loop because it's a 4-hour game? What would you recommend here?
You just start at the beginning. I mean, we're not gonna talk for more than 15 minutes.
Okay, gotcha.
But
We'll
you can start at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about this game because you've definitely hyped it up, and now we can finally talk about it.
The game is spelled GRIS. It is made by Spanish developers. So I was told it was pronounced Grease like Grease. If you can, roll the R. If you can.
There you go.
Grease.
Yeah.
Grease. But it is a fucking fantastic video game as art experience. The gameplay of it is not like the draw. It's at its core as far as gameplay goes. It's a platformer, but there's not a lot of complex or surprising new mechanics. They borrow from other. Maybe I don't know if it's borrowed from these specific games, but they do borrow from. It seems like they borrow from like VVVVV, and sort of like some Ori-ish kind of stuff. As far as the platforming mechanics go, however, the story, the music, or not story, I would say the narrative, I suppose, because it's not like scripted. But the general narrative of the thing as you travel through it, the symbolism, the sound design is it's fantastic. It is immersive and emotive. I'm trying to think of like a game that I can compare it to, and I've said Inside is a good comparison as far as what kind of a game it is. Not like anything other than what I think the game wants to get out of the player. Meaning it wants you to take a journey through a story and like punch you in the gut with like feelings and emotions and shit. And when you walk away from it, you go, that was pretty cool, I guess. I don't know another adjective to use. Powerful. There you go. Yeah. Thank you, Co. I did shed a tear by the end, for sure. And I with a game that's full of symbolism, it's tough to say why.
Right, without spoiling stuff.
Well, it's not only tough to say why without spoiling stuff, but it's up for interpretation. Like, sure, there's like achievements with names, and you're like, oh, okay, you kind of sort of get it. But it's you can interpret it in any way you want. But there is like a backbone to it.
Sorry,
music. Then yes, music is phenomenal.
There's no narration, right? It's all just music and gameplay, and that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
How long did it take you to beat Zeke?
It took me about 5 hours and change. Hold on, let me see how long Steam says. Yeah, about 5 hours and change. A little bit more than that, but I mean, a normal person probably like max 4 hours.
Whoa. Yeah, most people are saying 4 from what I saw.
Yeah. It is published, or excuse me, it's developed by Nomada Studio. Pardon me, and published by Devolver Digital, which I told them I think the tagline for this game should be from the publishers of Genital Jousting comes Grease.
Yeah, that should be the.
I told them, I was like, writes itself, man. It writes itself.
Yes, I agree.
But it's $17 on Steam, 4 hours. So like it's $4 an hour, or four or more, like a little more than $4 an hour. Mm-hmm. But it's well worth it. just to experience it. Yeah. And I would say, I mean, I think both of you guys should take an afternoon and check it out. And I told JP this, don't turn off your camera. I want to see you cry.
I mean,
I want to see you cry.
I don't know if I ever turned off my camera before in a situation
I have
like that.
never turned off my camera
Okay.
for any sad events in a game. I have had some inappropriately timed technical issues with my camera. That's not related at all.
Right. Yeah, yes, I agree.
Sounds like you got a story.
No, I think we're good. I think we're good. Is this available on anything else besides Steam, Zeke, or is it? Do you know?
I do not know. Hold on.
I'm sure.
I bet I could do a let me Google that for you.
Yeah, I figured as much. I'm gonna stop showing gameplay of it because some of it.
Switch. Oh, that's right. Switch. I forgot. You can get it on Switch.
Oh. Okay.
However, I wouldn't play it unless it was docked. You want it on a nice monitor or a nice television.
Okay.
You don't want it like it's unless you're just all about the music, because the music is fine in headphones and stuff. But the visuals, I would totally suggest you have it on a nice screen, whatever the nicest screen you got, with the graphics pumped up as much as possible, and some sort of theater surround or good headphones, because it's an experience. It's really cool. It's like playing a really emotional cartoon.
Okay. All right.
And yes, I said cartoon.
People get really offended by that.
People hate the word cartoon. Yeah. Like, have you seen the Akira cartoon or like the Neon Genesis cartoon? Have you
this
seen that?
is just blasphemy.
Cowboy
I'm
Bebop
only saying
cartoon?
this so I don't get destroyed. We'll just focus all that hate, funnel it towards Zeke. The one over to that far end right there. That's who you want to
Yo,
funnel it towards.
right over this guy's head.
Yeah, over that guy's head.
Bring it. I'm like Bishop. Like, I'll suck in all that hate and just blast it back out at you.
Side note, while we're on cartoons, by the way, if you guys are looking for great cartoons to watch on Netflix, check out the new Castlevania.
Yeah, so I've
It's
watched the
fucking
first.
dope. It's so good.
I try to watch stuff that I'm really into on planes because I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of flying. So I'm waiting to fly home for Christmas to finish season 2 of Castlevania because I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes in, and I think there's 6 or 8 or something like that. So yeah,
There
trying
is
to finish
one
it.
particular episode that's like super heavy in fighting,
Yeah.
and it is some of the cooler fight. Like, I seriously was that entire episode. I was just like,
Yeah.
Okay.
it was the awesome. Like, it was absolutely awesome.
All right.
And there's definite
Anyway,
nods
sorry.
to
Side note.
definite nods and references to the video games, to like a couple of different classic video games too. It's really cool.
Huh. All right. Well, now I'm hyped to
Yeah.
fly home because I get to watch some more Castlevania. Well, let's jump.
Wait. The director of Castlevania wants to do a Netflix adaptation of Berserk. Oh god. Sorry. Anyway,
Is that another cartoon?
That's another cartoon. Yeah. It's
it is. It's actually for kids though, so you probably have never heard of it.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a cartoon for kids. I believe it's on like ABC
Okay.
Family or something like that.
ABC
On our
Family.
channel.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Well, let's jump from one cartoon game to another cartoon game. Let's talk Ashen for a little while. And two things.
Fuck, I didn't get a chance.
Well, two things. One, I watched you play this yesterday, Co. There's something in this game that has the same ish drop sound for an Exalt. So I could only watch for about 30 minutes because I kept getting triggered with just a rush of adrenaline and then nothing happened. So I couldn't watch it for very long because of my Path of Exile addiction. And secondly, I don't want to put thoughts at everyone else's minds on how you feel about the game, but I got a sense that you were a little bit negative on this game. So correct me if I'm wrong, but how do you feel about Ashen?
Okay, so when I first saw Ashen, I was not super hyped about it. I'm somebody that can respect artistic choices. I mean, obviously, I play a lot of old games. You know, graphics are not the end all be all to me. But I will say that sometimes companies make decisions that I kind of just, I'm not super jazzed about. Like in this case, I didn't really like that everyone is faceless. It felt kind of the word I was using was lazy, although everyone was like, no, it's an art choice. I'm like, it's also a lot less work. So, I mean, it's both, I guess. But and they kind of went into it. The color palette is also kind of muted. There's a lot of asset reuse. But the thing is all I noticed that quickly when I started playing it, but the more that I played it, the less it mattered. Ashen is Dark Souls. It is a Dark Souls game. You've got your Estus flask. It feels like Dark Souls. You've got your dodging, your shield or two-hand weapon. It's kind of like a Dark Souls light in almost every respect, though. So the story is a little bit more kind of airy. There's not many details. It's just like, names and places and locations, and there's not really a lot of connective material. The graphics are obviously, more kind of cell shady, cartoony. There's no stat system. There's no like RPG progression of any kind. You can upgrade your Estus flask and weapons and things like that, but it feels really like indie Dark Souls or Dark Souls light. I mean, you're called the Ashen One, and you're trying to bring light back to the area. Like, there's a lot of like tangents. There's a lot of tangents. And actually, I don't believe you're
Hold
called
on a
the
second.
Ashen One, but they're called Ashen Ones. Yeah.
Huh.
Hold on. Doesn't she call you Ashen, or does people call you Ashen One?
The way that it works is
That's
the
very
the
Dark
lore
Souls, yeah.
that these creatures called Ashen Ones like bring light to the world, and one of them died, and now there's a new one, and you have to like protect it as it gets powerful. And while the light went out, and during these 3 different like centuries, like all these evil forces came up in these 3 different like generations, and you're kind of going and cleaning them out so they can't destroy this new Ashen that brings light to the area. But yeah, for instance, there's like, there's a lot of Ash reference, and like one of the levels basically looks like the very last level in Dark Souls 3, where it's just like everything's covered with ash everywhere. But again, let me point this out. I feel like I'm ragging on it a lot. The more I played the game, the more I've enjoyed it. It is a simpler Dark Souls, but it runs super well, never dropped below 60 FPS. I don't think I've encountered a single major bug yet in like going on 10 hours now, 3 different sessions. The story, although again pretty basic, like it's kept me going. There's all the characters that you talk to are fully voice acted. There's a lot of good things about the game. And I have overall been having a good time with it, and I'm planning on going back soon too. Man, am I dropping frames? I think I'm dropping frames or something. My camera keeps freezing.
Yeah, a little bit.
My side at least.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
But yeah, but it's been good. I came in with slightly negative expectations, and the more I play it, the more I'm like, this is a pretty decent game. Like, I'm having a good time with it. So,
what's
yeah.
the co-op thing, by the way? Like,
the co-op.
How does that work?
So I turned off the human co-op, and it's because the first time I think I got a human in the game, the dude literally just ran by me while I was getting my ass beat, and then just like picked up an item off a corpse that I killed, which then disappeared from my screen and then ran off into the distance. So I was like, screw this. Like, I'm not playing with random people. But what you can do is you can turn off the player aspect, and it gives you like a little AI companion, which sometimes works. Like it's a little bit weird. Like I've noticed more often than not at times that I'll look around and my companion just won't be there. And some other times, like when I got a new companion at one point, she would just stand and watch as I fight. But then other times your companion will run in and like really kick the enemy's ass and like near one shot them. Or if you go down, they're kind of like in a BR game. There's like a period of time after you go down before you actually die. And your AI companion can run over and like help you up, and then you get to keep going. And sometimes they do that and sometimes they don't. So it's been okay. Now, what is cool is that if you're a streamer or somebody that plays with a group of people, you can turn on multiplayer and then establish a code that then other people need to put into play in your game. So it's not necessarily just like play with random people or don't play with people. Like you can play with your friends if you want to. And from what I understand, it's only 2-player co-op. But it's been cool. Like it definitely changes the game a little bit. And it makes it feel a little bit less Dark Soulsy when you kind of always have this other person running with you. But it's worked for the game, and the challenge, weirdly enough, seems balanced around 2 people, which makes it really, really frustrating when your AI person doesn't show up and you're like fighting 4 mobs and all of them can hit you for 3/4 of your health in one hit and quickly. And you're sitting there like, where's my friendo? You know, like looking around, trying not to get hit. But overall, it's been good.
Now, I might have missed the part where you were talking about you can have someone, or can you have someone specific take over the AI's part?
By the way, if we have a mod in JP's chat that's available, I can't. I would have done it, but I can't anymore because I'm only a VIP now.
Oh,
Like this?
yeah. Zeke does have modding again.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, Zeke. He did mention that. Yeah, you can have AI take over the other people in the game. You can turn off multiplayer or whatever.
Yes, you can actually disable the multiplayer. You can turn off the AI character if you want to. But I've heard that makes the game like significantly more difficult. It doesn't rebalance around that option, and it's pretty obvious at some points in the game where the sheer amount of enemies that are attacking you and how much damage they're dealing to you, it feels like it's designed for 2 players. So,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can have someone specific jump into that role.
oh yeah. When you go into your options menu and you turn on multiplayer, there's this second section of 6 numbers that you can set. So you can set a 6-digit code, and then only people that enter that code can then join your game.
Gotcha. Okay.
Cool. That's actually a cool way to handle that. I've seen a couple like gear menus here. How is it gear heavy? Like, do you get item upgrades that are important to progression? Or
it's kind of strange because you do get a lot of different weapons, but from what I've seen, they're all very similar. Like, it's not like you get a lot of better weapons. You just get weapons that are kind of different, and then you can update them in different ways. Like an axe has more crit rate but does less heavy attack damage. Some weapons do less damage overall, but they have like a much larger swing radius and everything. And so there's differences like that. There's also 2-hand weapons and 1-hand weapons that have their different things, and also weapons will have different attack animations and styles. So that's important to mention. The only other kind of item in the game is you do have armor, which it is pretty standard Dark Soulsy. The more armor you get, the more stamina it removes from your attacks. And then there's also this talisman system, and that system is basically you have like this one main talisman in the middle, and it has like a big effect. And then you can put 4 little talismans around them, and those have like sub effects. So, for instance, like I put a talisman in that gave me a crazy helmet that makes it so every time I hit an enemy, it generates an orb up to 5. And depending on how many orbs I have, I do extra damage. And that's like a center talisman. And then like talismans around it are like a little bit more health, a little bit more stamina. I have one talisman that makes it so when I sprint, it takes half stamina instead of like 50% instead of 100, and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of character customization, but you're going to see like health go up, stamina go up, that kind of stuff. That's what happens every time you complete a quest. There's also items in the world that you can loot, and it will be like, you found a black raven's feather plus 2 stamina, you know, and stuff like that.
okay.
Now I know that I could see your weapon and like shield changing and stuff, but does your armor change as you pick up items? Like do your appearance? I mean,
you can pick up items, but there are new armor sets, and every armor set does have a full unique look for your players. So right now I'm in, I think, the second armor set I got, and I've gotten 3 or 4 more since then.
Okay,
but it does. So there is only armor. There's not like helmet, legs, arms. It's just armor, and it's a whole set.
Well, okay, gotcha.
It's kind of like I said, it's kind of weird. Almost everything in this game is just a Dark Souls mechanic, either copied over or simplified. Like it feels and plays very much like Dark Souls. And something I was making careful to point out on my stream, I say that as a good thing, by the way.
Right.
Like I love Dark Souls. I played all the Dark Souls like 5+ times. I love them. So if I say a game like really feels like Dark Souls, that's actually a really good thing. Nice. Some games have tried to feel like Dark Souls and just don't pull it off. They just don't.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. A lot have done that. Bosses, is there much variance, or is it like here's a dude with more HP and a couple moves? Like how do they handle that?
I've fought 2 bosses so far, and both have basically been like that. They're basically taller, larger mobs that have a few extra moves and generally like a gimmick or 2. I don't want to spoil it, but the gimmicks so far have been relatively light. And it's just kind of like a harder mob. Are
those all?
Although I will say the first boss does have some interesting like light shadow mechanics, which were kind of cool. Like it would build up, not to spoil too much, but it would build up shadow on itself, and you have to like beat the shadow off, and then use some lights around the room to do some stuff. And I'm gonna leave it at that. It's a lot deeper, but it was some kind of interesting stuff there. Second boss though was just like boss and ads, so I don't know how much of that we're really gonna see.
I mean, you had me at beating off.
Yeah,
Like, I'm in.
You know, I was
gonna beat
wondering
off
if
that
we were
shadow
gonna
a
get
bit.
past that without a.
Beat off into the shadow.
Man, fuck no, dude. I played Leisure Suit Larry this weekend. I'm all about it right now.
I know. I was just wondering if we were gonna get past that as a group, but no.
Oh no,
No.
no.
It's a negative. There's a little bit of the inventory management, which you can see on screen here.
Small
HP.
inventory, but you do have storage at base.
Okay. HP recovery is there an Estus
HP
flask?
recovery is, yes, there is an Estus flask. You can update not only the quantity but the amount that it heals. There's also, just like in Dark Souls, limited items that you find around the world that will heal you. There's also an item that will regen your health.
Okay.
And I think that's about it. I haven't found any lifesteal weapons or skills or anything like that yet.
Okay.
But they also seem to be very liberal about, like, all you have to do is run near a temple or an altar, which is like your fire bonfires,
Right.
and instantly full health and all of your SS flasks back. There's no sitting, there's no interacting, nothing. You just walk in range of it. And also spread out throughout the game, they have these containers that if you walk up and use are basically the same as going to a shrine. So like I'm actually working on a pretty tough, long dungeon right now. It's full of higher level mobs that I'm having trouble beating because they all hit me for like 3/4 of my health, and I'm frequently fighting multiple of them. And 2 times so far in this dungeon, there has been receptacles to fully reheal you and fill up your Estus flask.
Penalty for death. Do you lose? Like what is the
Dark
penalty?
Souls.
It's Dark Souls.
Dark
Okay.
Souls copy. You drop your soul. If you die again, you lose that soul.
Okay.
Do they call them souls?
No, they call them like Soraya or something. I mean, they're souls, dude.
Souls. Okay.
They're freaking-
Final question I have. Any sense on how long it is? Because you've done 2 long broadcasts or 1 long broadcast for it?
You know what? No. And here's the thing. I haven't done like a how long to beat on it yet, but I was talking to my overlay team, and I was like, yeah, we may need something for Ashen. And they mentioned where they were like, oh yeah, you only have a couple streams of that left. And I was like,
Huh.
it feels like I'm only like 20% into the game. Like nothing has really happened yet. But at the same time, apparently it's kind of short, which sucks because this is the kind of game I'd love for it to be as long as they can make it.
Right.
As I'm sure Zeke would like to hear, I love the longer and girthier a game is. So it's this one is just not. It doesn't seem like it has a lot. What's been there has been great so far, but yeah, I'm don't know where it's going to end. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we saw
One of the reasons I'm because considering the game is $40, I think, on the Epic
Ooh.
Store. That's one of the reasons. Like people keep asking me, "Do you recommend Ashen?" And I'm like, "Dude, I can't answer that until I beat it. I guess if it's a short game, we'll have to see. We'll have to see."
Well, I mean, the last thing you want a game to be, you don't want it to be short and girthy. Like you want a nice length, but if it gets too long, then it just gets painful, and you don't want to
And you also
going with something like that.
It's very true, and you need to make sure also that the story is cogent. I mean, you don't want to be going down the story and then all of a sudden just take a turn and then go that way, because then you have that kink, and nobody likes that.
Some people like
that's
kinks,
very
though.
true.
What I mean, you can't kink shame here. What are you talking about?
Oh no! I specifically meant a turn kink.
Okay.
There's a lot of other kinks in the game that are fantastic, though.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
a gentle bend is okay,
Yeah.
but if it's like if the story hooks
we're
like a
talking like
gonzo
Captain
nose,
Like that's a problem.
Right.
That's
your problem.
Makes sense.
Right. So how veiny is the?
and that's where it all just crumbles.
That's where we
It all-
stop. Yeah.
The
I
facade
was
just
dumb innuendo.
Yeah. That's where we stop. So still the only place to get this that I'm aware of is the Epic Game Store, right? Because it says to be announced or to be determined on Steam. So
that is the only place I could find it was the Epic Store.
all right. So $40. $40. Someone in the chat was also saying 14 to 16 hours long. I guess you'll see. That's
In
a
that
little
case,
bit short.
I'm already almost halfway through it.
Okay.
It's unfortunate.
All right. We'll circle back. I guess we won't, because next show's Game of the Year. Well, if this shows up in the Game of the Year list, we'll circle back and see how much more time you had with
I will say, although I'm enjoying it, unless something changes significantly, this probably won't make my top 10.
Okay.
Like it's been fun so far, but it's kind of weird when you play a game like this and the entire time you're, like I was saying, you were feeling like it's another game light, you know, like it's like arcade Dark Souls light, you know, like it's just a little bit less all around.
Sure.
And I haven't yet found what's in this game to make it special in terms of like going up against a Dark Souls. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe we won't. We'll see.
All right.
It honestly kind of reminds me of like the stop motion for like Nightmare Before Christmas, like that kind of animation style. It kind of gives me that sort of feeling. Like they look like actual models. Like they're very well like defined and stuff. But they do look like they were carved out of like, you know, clay or whatever, and then made to, you know, animate.
Yeah. I can agree with that. The face thing is a little bit, I wouldn't say jarring, but you expect them to turn around and see a face, but then you don't. It's, I guess it's unexpected to see it, but I can understand why. Faces are obviously more production time and blah, 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 blah. Indie game stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's like someone put like one color of paint on a melon and then put a mustache and a wig on it.
Yeah, exactly. They look like melons.
It's like,
I agree.
Remember the Colbert Report when he did Ham Rove? Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like a ham with glass on it.
Yeah, exactly. People are also saying this game's free if you have the Xbox Game Pass or whatever. So if you have that, you can grab it for free. What is this like story related shit right here? What there was sparkles.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's like clearing a path. Gotcha. Okay. Cool. That is Ashen. Zeke, let's jump back to you. Is Leisure Leisure? I can't even say the word. Is that fucking game the same game that they released 10 years ago?
No, I don't know.
You don't know because you didn't play it.
This is my first Leisure Suit Larry game.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
how is it? What'd you
apparently,
think?
like I looked up, there's like a dozen other games with this title character in it.
Yes, there's.
I had no idea. Like I thought there was like maybe 4 or 5, but there's a ton. Yeah, this was my first time ever playing, and I gotta say, people were asking me if this game was like banned on Twitch or anything like that, and I played all the way through it. And I just want to say, like, there's no fucking way this game would be banned. It's so tame. Some of the language and suggestive things are, I mean, they're definitely like adult themed stuff, but they don't show anything that's bad at all. I mean, I think the worst thing I saw as far as, because there is a sex shop and you see like sex toys like dildos and butt plugs and all kinds of stuff. Right. But those are all sex toys. Like as far as actually seeing like a character naked, you don't. The worst I got, honestly, was I saw a little bit of areola, like just a little like tiny peek.
The important thing, not if the game's good, but really, how much can I get out of this game? If you know what I'm saying, Zeke. Like, you know, is it
okay? Let me dive into this. And you're making the same mistake I did in the title of that.
Am I?
JP.
I'm just going off the title, or off
it's
the
Leisure
title.
Suit Larry. Wet dreams don't dry, not die.
Oh, okay.
Don't dry.
Gotcha. Thank you. No, good for clarification. That's the other. That's
I thought it was.
It's the other game.
I thought it was Wet Dreams Don't Die too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Going into this game, it was a big surprise in how good it was. Like I was expecting to play it for one broadcast and get just fucking bored with it and just be like, all right, we did all the dick jokes and fart jokes. You know, I mean, even me, there's only so much I can take. But this game kept me interested, and it is a good fucking point and click game. I had a ton of fun playing it. It's got all the point and click elements that you like, and that you hate, but you look forward to, like getting stuck, a little bit of like taking every single item and combining it and going like, okay, is this going to work? Is this going to work? and they have the voice line like, that won't work when you're trying to combine them together, like everything, because you're getting frustrated. And then you'll come to points where you're just like, you finally try the thing that you thought you tried like 100 times before, but you actually didn't try it the way you thought you did. And you go, motherfucker. And then like then the game continues on. But that's what adventure games do, or point and click games do.
Right.
A lot of times, like any point and click I've ever played that's worth a damn has had at least one or two of those moments. Like Day of the Tentacle, Monkey Island, Indiana Jones, all these games have had those moments where you're just like, are you fucking serious? You either say, I thought I tried that 100 times, or that makes no fucking sense, moon logic.
Yeah.
This game doesn't have a ton of moon logic, which is nice. And for those of you who don't know who moon logic is, it means shit that makes no sense to most people, except the people who made the game.
Right.
So
People of the Moon.
It's combining like a straw and panties to make like a snorkel or something like that. You're like, why the fuck would that even work? It's just because they thought it was funny, I'm sure. Like the developers thought it was funny.
Right.
That's moon logic. This game is not heavy on the moon logic, which is nice. It is very clever at times. Yes, you're gonna get your sex jokes. Yes, you're gonna get your all the base humor, but there's also awesome references to to old Leisure Suit Larry games, to adventure games as a whole, to like pop culture. Like there's Jurassic Park shit in there. There's like just references, and I'm all about that shit. I love it. There's also, I think there's like German and Spanish inside jokes. So if you're German or Spanish or speak the language, like there's gonna be like a couple of things in there. I had to have some shit explained to me why it's funny, or you'll just miss it, which in which case you don't care. But the basic gist of the game, the basic jizz of the game is you're trying to get laid.
Good on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Trying to get laid.
I think that's the goal of every Leisure Suit Larry game, if I'm correct. Like chat might have to correct me on that, but I want to say that's the goal in almost every game that they've put out under this IP.
Pretty much. I'm just remembering every time he says his name, he laughs. He does a little giggle every time he introduces himself. I'm Larry. Larry Laugher. Every time he introduces himself to a new character. But it's charming. It's actually like you can play this without a problem on your channel. Like maybe a couple of parts would be a little bit.
I just got done with the council, buddy. Trust me, I think it's worse.
Oh, the council? I still haven't like jumped into the rest of it. Is it completely out yet?
Yeah.
Like in full.
Oh, in full.
Okay. Because I played the first chapter.
I really
awesome.
want to talk about it, so we can wait until
we'll jump back after that. After this, rather.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but it's fairly tame. It actually has a more content than I expected. It took me, and I fucked around a lot, and you know how I do. I take way longer than anybody else. It took me 17 hours to get through the game. It's probably, I would say 14 or 15, give or take, for a normal person. Probably 3 extra hours for me because I love messing around, making jokes, getting stuck. There were a lot of times that I didn't look at chat while playing this because I was stuck on a part this part right here. Like this little fucking thing right here.
This door that's a little too wet.
Little fucking part. And I don't figure it out now.
Okay.
Like I figured out way down the line. But this one little part, because I didn't try one little thing, and one little thing like blocked off the entire rest of the game because you have to get all the pieces in order to progress.
Sure.
And you just sit there, and it's because it's so simple to everyone watching. But if you watch somebody else play it, they'll get hung up on a part that you found easy. Right. And I think that's everybody. Like, oh, you didn't think to do that like immediately? I thought about that right away. And then someone's like, yeah, you didn't think to put this with this, like, and then they're watching you like, God, how stupid are you?
That's how it goes.
Yeah, eventually eventually I figured it out, and I was just like this, like not looking at my chat like for a good half an hour, just like wandering around,
Jeez.
re-talking to everybody, recombining everything, and then finally I got it. I threw my headphones off and I walked away. I walked away because I was so steamed that I didn't do it or didn't think of it like immediately. And then I sat back down and continued. I love that about these games. I love it. The music in the game is fucking great. It is perfect background music, and it changes. It's not just the same music. It's not like sexy porno music like all the way through. There are parts with that, but the background music is pretty goddamn good. Like it changes from place to place. The voice acting is spot on. It's fucking great. The jokes are sometimes base and sometimes clever. Like it is $30, I think.
It's not too bad.
I want to say. Yeah, $29.99. But if you like adventure games, point and clicks, you'll like this game. If you like Leisure Shoot Larry, you'll like this game. If you like sex humor without going too far, you'll like it.
All right.
I recommend it. You'll get like $2 an hour out of it. So
Nice. What a game. You need to go back and play some of those older ones, I think. Maybe sometime in 2019, jump back and there's a lot. They've kind
Leisure Shoot Larry games?
Yeah. They've been around for a while.
January.
Uh-oh. We're about to see some old game.
January, I got these games.
I haven't seen a box.
Wait, what are those?
I just want to see the boxes. I don't.
One's over here. This is January. The entire month of January, I've got
Nice.
like a whole stack of these. This is about half of them. I've got the Mummy. I've got Total Distortion, Black Dahlia.
Oh my god.
Yep. Rama. I've got what is that one? Discworld.
Man, I miss.
I've got all kinds of shit. That's all of January.
They should start
Because
doing
I
more
miss
box
playing
games.
old games because I'm trying to get as many of the top 10 contenders as I can done before time's up.
Right. Yeah. Now I just want to buy more game boxes.
These get sent to me, dude. Like they get sent to me a lot because I'll tell you this kind of funny thing about my channel. People I'll lose viewers after the install portion of fucking broadcast. I'll be sitting there trying to install it with DOSBox and you gotta sometimes you gotta move shit around and file and all that kind of stuff. You gotta input command, you gotta use your command box a lot, and people fucking love it.
Yeah.
And then once the game is actually up and running, I'll lose fucking 10% of my viewers.
That's how it goes. They want to see that setup process.
Yeah, I don't install them beforehand. Sometimes it takes an hour. Sometimes it only takes 5 minutes, but sometimes it takes an hour because compatibility is rough with old games.
It is, yeah. It's
What was it? You had a long battle with it was the Borg Star Trek one, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Trying to get it is it anti-aliasing or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Anti-aliasing.
Whatever the lines, I was trying to take the lines off and I battled with it and battled with it. I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, that's not anti-aliasing. That's something that just old games mess up on. It's like the line thing that old VCRs did.
Well, but the thing is, I could see it fine on my monitor, but going through OBS on my capture card, it was terrible with dark lines all the way through it.
Yeah, chat.
Interlacing. That's what it is. It's interlacing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Interlacing. Because I was like, I can see it fucking fine. Why can't you see it? And I'm trying to fuck around with settings in OBS and trying to switch out capture cards and shit. And I finally just went, fuck it. You'll deal with it.
Stealing Sitley's joke.
Installation is futile.
That's good. That's a good one. Let's talk the council. I don't know what's spoilers and what's not, so feel free to tell me to skip.
The whole game is a spoiler.
Okay, then we'll just kind of skip around.
Okay, let's talk about the council. All right, so I played. The council came out. The first episode came out a while ago, and I played the first episode, and I really liked it. It was really good. I liked it so much that in not traditional my own style, I actually played it again right when I finished a different way, just because I wanted to see how different the sides could be. What was really cool is playing the first episode in two different ways was almost like playing two different games in terms of like the information it gave to the player. Like there was of some very, very large events that you don't even hear about when you do like the different ways. It's really cool. So knowing that I would like it, I did wait for the rest of the episodes to come out. And then over the last few days, I played through it all the way through. And like oh, man, this game is a ride. This console is a ride. I mean, I had 5+ complete jaw drop moments. There are really good puzzles. There's a lot of exploration where you're just going around and very well rewarded for looking in nooks and crannies and finding different things. There's an excellent character development system that kind of plays into how you talk with people and work your way through situations. Tons of things that you can do wrong, differently. Like right when I finished the game, the first thing in my mind is like, I gotta play this game again. Like
Really?
in the 4th chapter, for instance, I did something not fast enough, and like a major thing happened because I didn't take the hint that earlier when the guy was like said, I need to get there quickly. Like he just gives this one little line, and I'm just sitting here taking my time talking to everyone, and then I get to the point where I'm supposed to, and I was just like, what have I done? Like it's wild. This game will be on my top 10 list this year. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It's got replayability. It has a great story. There is definitely some indiness in it. Like the animations on characters and the lip sync is a little low. Sometimes the voice acting isn't great. But man, like I just had a damn joy playing this game. It was fun beginning to end. And like I said, right when I was done, the first thing I thought about was like, I need to do that again someday, because there's so many things I would have done differently, and I'm sure it would have like, for instance, I had a major character die early that didn't need to. And looking back at my playthrough, like there's no question, and I actually looked up a little bit afterwards just to see if I was right. It dramatically changes the events depending on that little thing happening. And that's just one of many little things that can happen.
Yeah.
And also what really surprised me about this game, and I'm going to try to say this as spoiler-free as possible, the game does an excellent job at constantly keeping you on your toes. You're never comfortable. You never know exactly what's going on. You never know exactly what side you're fighting for. Like there's so much little nuance in the game that will happen, you'll miss it, and then later on someone will be like, oh yeah, when that thing happened, or when I said this thing, and you're just like, how did I miss that? Right? And that happened multiple times. So yeah, it was good. It blew by my expectations for it, and it was a lot of fun.
There's
Chat also, like the people that were watching it for the first time in chat, like it was they were eating it up, dude. Every time we got to a puzzle, like so many people would be guessing and going over ideas, and very few people knew the actual answers, which was really fun because not a huge amount of people have streamed the game.
Yeah.
So it was, and also apparently your playthroughs can dictate answers being different for puzzles. So a lot of times someone would be like, I know it's this, and I'd do it and it wouldn't work, and they'd just be like,
I think the last time we brought this game up, there was conversation of like, is this the next evolution in a sense of like the Telltale game? Now that you've played it, now that it's fully out, like, would you say that it is, Co?
Absolutely. I think this is a good example of the future of like investigation games in general. One thing, like here's a good way to say it. This is a game. Detroit Become Human wasn't. Like that's how different.
Shit.
No, it's not an oh moment.
Oh shit!
No,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, we know we've talked about this in the past, but like a lot of people were like, because I got that question towards the end of it. Somebody had dropped in the channel and watched for just a few minutes, and they were like, "This looks a lot like Detroit Become Human." And I actually went on like this little mini rant where I'm like, "No, this game has like a lot of gameplay and a lot of character choice, and you get to decide where you go, and you get to decide the order of events, and you can just decide not to talk to somebody, and maybe that'll be a huge deal later. There's no like linear progression throughout the game. Like it's all kind of like what you want to do in most cases and where you want to go. Especially towards the end. I just took a detail looking for side stuff, inadvertently found like a massive plot thing that I would have just not got if I had not been looking around. And that massive item that they got to the end directly influenced my ending. So it's just kind of like, yeah, it was good. It was good.
Nice.
So I only played the first chapter of this, so I want to know. In Telltale games are pretty notorious for they'll say your choices matter, but they don't matter as much as you want them to matter. Do your choices matter in this much more? Would you say do they have more gravity? Like they change the entire game, the choices you make?
They certainly can. Absolutely.
Good. Okay, good.
They can directly influence not only major events, but how major events play out, and also what you learn about certain major events. So, like for instance, man, I really I could give you some really good examples, but at the same time, there's no question they'd be spoilers. So, but just know that even what was that?
Even in the first chapter, like I experienced a little bit of that, like a little bit of I made the choice to go talk to this person and not this person, and then you just totally miss that entire conversation. And I'm like, fuck no, I wanted to do both. I can't do both. Yeah.
And what's even crazier is when they give you those splits, which happens frequently in the game, like there's no question that each of those sides is going to give you important key information. And there will be times when you just don't get to do the other one. Like for instance, this is actually not one of the not great things. There was an instance towards the end of the game where I'm pretty sure I encountered some characters in certain states where I had to say things to them to appease them. And I said these things to them, and I was like, okay, I can't wait to, help do what I said I would do for those people. And the game ended before I could. So I think I'm pretty sure that those events took place in a timeline I didn't do. But at the same time, because of that, in my playthrough, it became kind of a plot hole. So, that's one of the reasons that I really want to play it again, because it's like the game clearly was funneling me in a direction where I could do it. They were like setting the dominoes up. I just never got to actually knock them down. And that makes me wonder, like, how many other times that may have happened in the story. There were certainly times throughout the game when I was thinking things were going one way, and then they would just like blast you in the face that nothing is what you think it is, and that we're going a different direction with it. And I wondered a couple times, like, did I miss something, or are we like, is this the same game? Like, but they could have just been that it was just really like big aha moments. I'm not going to know until I play it through again.
Yeah. 4 chapters, 3 chapters. How long is it?
5 full chapters.
Oh, 5. Okay.
And I can't give you I'd have to look at my YouTube playlist right now to give you an exact time. I've played it 21 hours, but that was also theoretically playing the first episode 3 times. Once for my final run and then twice before. So I'd say it's probably around 15 to 18 hours. I also kind of took my time with it, so people could probably make it go a little bit quicker.
Yeah. Okay. Zeke, you're going to jump in? I'm assuming
once it got fully updated. Yeah. Once it got fully updated, like, because it just updated like for the last time, like I want to say yesterday or the day before. Something like that. And
last one came out.
Because I recently saw it on my list of like, because I used to have my Steam auto update shit, but fuck that, because I have too many fucking games. I have too many games, and every time I open my Steam every day, it's like you have 30 updates to make. I'm like, fuck that, I'll just pick which ones I want to update. So I saw the council on there and went, oh shit, I wonder, and it's like it's in full now, which is good.
Yeah.
And I loved the first chapter, and I think it's a fantastic direction for what kind of games would Telltale games be? What's the genre category?
What was that?
Interactive story games?
I was actually just typing that in chat. I call games like Detroit and Telltale, they're interactive stories.
Yeah.
Like, it basically, a good way to think about it is if all the gameplay you're doing is just to push the narrative forward. Like, for instance, in Detroit Become Human, you enter an investigation scene and all you do is walk around, and the buttons you press are like open container or, look at that thing. Like and Telltale games are another good example. If all you're really doing is pushing forward a narrative and making some light choices here and there, that's an interactive story. That's a choose your own adventure book back when we were growing up. So
I hate the term visual novel for this. Visual novels to me are like
that's actually not
visual
even
are
worth.
like
don't have
No,
Not voice
let's
acted.
just stop the conversation on visual novel because that's not it. Let's just move on. It's
Not
not a
original.
visual novel. There's no explanation needed.
Yes,
You have to have
you don't be a
interaction
dick like that. That's the worst way to fucking make an
No,
argument.
it's
is to
not
be
even
like,
a conversation.
"It's this
There's
way,
none. It's,
no explanation.
Well, no,
it's
no,
not a
that's like
visual
here's-
novel. There's no.
Why do I have to go to bed, Mom? Because I said so.
A novel's like a book, right? It's telling you a story. But Detroit Become Human and Telltale, you are actively changing the story with your own decisions. So there's an interactive element that novels just don't really have. Novels are to dictate something to you, where these are kind of you maneuver your way through a narrative.
Yeah.
So
It's a
The tags,
cartoon,
they-
probably, I think is what we'll go with.
yes, they're all
User
cartoons.
defined-
Wait, let's just call them all cartoons.
Yeah, they're all,
All
they're all
cartoons.
cartoons. I love it. The tags on the Steam page.
Same as anime.
Nice.
The tags on the Steam page are choices matter, adventure, RPG, and story rich. And choices matter very first. Like that's the first thing that it's an user defined tag. So that's awesome.
People in chat are
cool.
saying visual novels do have choices that affect the outcome. Well, then those aren't visual novels.
Yeah, but those are visual novels.
No. See, those Steam and everyone is calling those improperly. They're just all wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I'm fine with that. We can say that.
No, for real though, it more reminds me of an adventure game, like a point and click with like, it's not as lo-fi as most adventure games are, but you go around, you look at shit, you talk to people.
Yep.
There's not a lot of like action sequences where you have to like, be quick on the draw and stuff like that when you're fighting like over and over again. But quick time events do happen, right?
Yeah.
Like
They're
you have to
actually
like make
cleaning
a
up a few things about Council. There are events that you have to be paying attention for. So, and what's also really cool about the gamification part of it is like when you start, you basically choose a class. You can be like a diplomat, a detective, or an occultist. And that will pick like your initial skills and how you can interact with the world. You have these things called
cultist all the way, dude.
What's up?
You played
Cultist all the way.
Yeah.
But what you have these things, and this is actually one of my favorite parts about Council. You have these things called effort points, and you have a pool of them. And every time you use one of your skills, or in some cases interact with the world, you have to choose what skill you do, and depending on how good on your skill, you will expend effort points. So then you can go around the world and find items that will give you back effort points or make things cost less. And there's like this crazy decision tree where it's like, okay, based on what skills my character knows, based on how much I want to know this, based on the way at which I want to go about knowing it, based on how many effort points I have, based on what items, like there's all these decisions that go into the flow of the game that are so much more than just, do I want to go this way or that way? And that's really what kind of separates it in my mind.
Cool.
So, and then of course you can play all the different types, different ways. So the replayability would be nuts because you just don't see the options a lot of times if you don't have the skills.
Yeah.
Well, and also, this game is by Focus Home or published by Focus Home Interactive, and Focus is it a part of like a subsidiary of Focus Features, like movies, or not? Do we know
No
that?
idea.
I have no idea.
Okay,
I know there is a Focus movie brand IP,
yeah, Focus
whatever.
Features,
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's the same company though.
And my last,
developed by Big Bad. By the way, that's important.
yes,
Yeah.
Big Bad Wolf. And they were great, by the way. They actually shot me an email when I was done with the playthrough, a very nice email.
Nice.
And they were like, we were watching you and thanks for playing our game and stuff like that. So big shout out to the Big Bad Wolf guys. I didn't even know they were in the channel. Like I didn't, but it was also really cool. And this is honestly one of my favorite parts of it. I don't know if the devs meant to do this, but there is no question that the lead character of the council is based on Guybrush Threepwood. And I don't care what anyone tells me. Like, he looks like a realistic version of Guybrush Threepwood. He's constantly throwing out one-liners. He says corny things all the time. Like, it's... And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Guybrush Threepwood is the lead character of the Monkey Island series.
Monkey Island, yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. All right.
that's his name. I remember that. I went, I know that fucking name.
Yeah, you were Star
I wanted to
Lord
say
me
Monkey
there.
Island, but I didn't want to look like an asshole. If I said Monkey Island, I was wrong.
No. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should. But yeah, he looks, acts, and feels a lot of times like the lead character from Monkey Island, especially the later episodic ones, if anyone has played those. And I couldn't shake it. There were so many times during it that he would say just like ridiculous, like for crying out loud, you know, and he'd sit there like key whiz, you know, it's just, it's hilariously bad sometimes. And I loved it.
Yeah.
Guybrush Threepwood is a spirit animal.
I see.
Yeah. If you want to Google images of, that's how you spell it. Guybrush Threepwood is how you spell the name.
Oh, there's a P3.
And he's a mighty pirate, by the way.
I see. Okay.
Yep. He is. He's a mighty pirate. Hey, look over there, a three-headed monkey. There's a reference to that in Leisure Suit Larry.
Nice.
Except a three-headed monkey, I think he said three-boobed something, but he definitely said, "Hey, look, it's a three-boobed dancer" or something like that. Great. Cool nod.
Nice.
Now, hold on a second here. When I click on Big Bad Wolf in Steam to go to their developer page, Cyanide Studios comes up with Call of Cthulhu and the Council, and what the fuck?
I don't
Any
know.
idea?
Maybe
Okay,
those
never
are
mind.
just types of games. Because Call of Cthulhu and Council are similar.
Those are other visual novels, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Because
might
I want to
just be
look at
fucked.
any of the other games they have on Steam. I usually do that when I do, Indie Day,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to know like where they're it doesn't seem like they have a page on Steam.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I know you guys both finished after last week's talk about Mutant Year Zero. You guys both finished it. Do we need to say anything anymore on that now that it's complete for both of you? Or is it still nothing changed after last week?
Still love it. Still a great game.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I was looking up something.
Mutant Year Zero, do you want to add anything to it after you finished it last year? Or last week, sorry.
It's fantastic. It's a great game if you like the XCOM style combat that I loved with the jumping in and out, the sneaking ability, the exploration. I do kind of wish the exploration part of it didn't it got a little tedious at times because of the camera. That's my biggest, hugest gripe with this game. With Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden is what we're talking about now. We've kind of switched gears a little bit. My biggest gripe with that game is the fixed camera on a string or on a radius. Like you can move the camera around your characters, but it's like you have a steel rod going from your character up to the camera at a fixed angle. So it goes around your characters, but the angle is always the same and the height is always the same. I would have liked to have a little bit more camera control. It would have made the searching for because in order to upgrade your weapons and to buy things, you have to get weapon parts and scrap. And in order to get those, you can defeat enemies, but also they're peppered throughout the each map, each different location.
Right.
And searching for them can get tedious. The flashlight does help, but I would have liked to been in more control of the camera so I could make that a little bit easier. And searching for stuff, like once you clear a map, it's just like extra tacked on time. Like just go okay, now let's go find all the scrap and all of the artifacts and all the shit on the map. But all that aside, it's a fucking phenomenal game. I loved it. The humor, the art style, the weight that they give the story. The end.
We'll save it for Game of the Year. Save it for Game of the Year.
No, I just wanted a little more, I guess.
Okay.
A little more at the end. The last battle, fucking hard, man. Fucking frustrating. It took me a while to get that last battle down, but it was fucking worth it by the end. Once you figure and I was a little underleveled, but it was once it was done, because you go into it the first time, you're like, all right, let's check it out. And you're like, oh fuck, and you just get stomped. And then you go and it's like, I'm gonna try this strat. And you're like, okay, that strat worked, but it needs some tweaking because I died real quick anyway. And then you just but the thing with this game is there's so many different ways you can do shit. It's not like XCOM where you run into an enemy and then fight. Like this, you can like look around them, see like your best possible like starting the battle point, how you're gonna like direct the flow of the battle. It gives you a lot more control and a lot more options when you're facing enemies.
Yeah, one thing that I definitely want to echo behind Zeke, because this is one of the things that really kicked this game up for me big time, was the fact that there is a real-time movement component. Like even in XCOM, you're basically click to moving everything, and that of course kind of slowed it down. But when you're in this mode that you see Zeke in right now, before the fighting,
Yeah.
It dramatically speeds up the gameplay, connects you to the world a little bit more. And what's kind of funny is, just to be kind of the devil's advocate here on the other side, I actually loved the part that Zeke was just lamenting. Like one of my favorite parts in clearing a level, where it's like, awesome, everyone's dead. Let's turn on our flashlight and go over the entire level to make sure we got everything. So, like,
It's satisfying.
Kind of depends on how much of a loot whore you are at the end of the day. But yeah, also important to mention, because Zeke mentioned being underleveled, there's a lot of side content that was kind of cool. I wasn't expecting that. There's lots of like high level areas that are purposefully much higher level than when you're directed to go through them the first time. You can just skip them completely if you don't want to. There's entire zones you can skip if you want to. Nice. Which kind of can definitely affect how difficult the end is.
Yeah. Well, cool. We had a much longer discussion on it last week. So if you're wanting more on Mutant User, go check out, I think it's part 1 of the VOD from episode 174. We're kind of playing catch up, I guess, since this is the final episode of the year. Let's jump to some X4, then we'll jump to some Darksiders 3 after that. Talk a little bit about X4.
Okay. X4 is a space simulation sandbox. It is based on the old X series. I personally was a player of a game called X3 with 2 different things, Terran Conflict and another Albion one. But basically what happened was I put probably 500 plus hours in X3. It was a huge amount of fun. Very developed world. This was about a decade ago. And I loved it. And the company Egosoft came out with another game called X Rebirth, which was not very good. I played X Rebirth for about 20 minutes and was like, okay, I guess the X series is dead to me. That's unfortunate. So then about half a year ago, I hear that X4 is in development. And I got a little bit excited, but I was a little bit tempered because it got to the point where it's kind of like, we really don't need X Rebirth 2. They may have lost it. But now that I played X4 a little, I can tell you that X4 is X3 2. They basically kind of took the X series back to the drawing board. They brought in most of the features that made X3 really special. Now, there's a lot of great things about X4, and there's a lot of not so great things about X4. The biggest issue is that foundationally the game is awesome. There's tons of ships to pilot. You can build your own stations. There's quest lines. The combat's pretty solid. Like when it's working beautifully, and there's tons to do, and there's a lot going on. And I played it for 20 plus hours, had a fantastic time the whole time. Now, the unfortunate part about X4 is that it is currently very buggy. It is buggy. And it's buggy mainly because it's a smaller studio making a gigantic game. But at the same time, some of the bugs that it has right now are like pretty game-shattering bugs. Like, for instance, one huge thing about the X series is that there's a giant living economy. The entire universe is constantly balancing like what ships are being made, what sides are fighting, what resources aren't in abundance, and then the NPCs will fill in the gaps and stuff. And a lot of that stuff isn't working properly right now. So, for instance, one thing that a lot of people are doing is you can get a device that speeds up time. So it basically makes it so your game runs at 400% the speed, maybe even more. And what people are doing is they're just turning their game on, putting on that device, and then leaving it on for days at a time. And the reason they're doing that is it's actually really intelligent, because what they're doing is they're putting the NPC economy in overdrive to see, like, how is the AI going to handle basically existing for this amount of time. And the problem was, at first, there were major bugs where factions weren't rebuilding ships, so they would destroy each other, but then they wouldn't build them. Then they fixed that. And then there was another major bug where engine parts wouldn't get delivered to stations. So the ships wouldn't get built. That was a big problem. Then mining didn't work. Then trade stations weren't working properly. So there's like, it works really well, like 70% of the time, but there are these little gotchas that Egosoft is, to their credit, working their ass off fixing, but we're just not quite there yet. So basically X4 right now, X4 is going to be the best space sandbox game available. No question, eventually. It will get there. Like you when you play it, you can feel it. Like all the pieces are there, everything's going to work, but it's just not quite working yet. It's like you're looking at a beautiful car that the engine just doesn't quite work right. And the mechanic is standing next to you with the wrench and he's like, I'll have this working for you in like 2 to 3 months. Sorry for the wait. You know, like it's so nice. And the parts that work are great. And there's some massive improvements over X3. Like, I don't know if you can find any of the like this whole map system and everything. It's like point and click now. It's super intuitive. You can manage entire fleets of ships. You can set up trade routes, auto miners. You know, you can send up fleets to protect different sectors against Xenon. And like, it's all awesome. Also pretty cool about what you're looking at. I'm actually driving around a frigate that has my other ship parked on the top of it.
Nice.
So if you see in the middle of the screen, that's actually the first ship I started the game in, parked on the second ship that I got that now has like 4 giant turrets and all sorts of fun stuff. And if you find a later video, there's actually a much bigger ship sitting where that little one is there. Maybe in a different VOD. I don't know if I got in this one. But yeah, that's kind of where we are with X4. Like it's a phenomenal game. And yeah, for those asking in chat, this is X4 Foundations. It's a phenomenal game that's like, I'd say right now between 70 and 80% complete. And it's definitely a game that any spaceship sandbox fan should be keeping a close eye on if you haven't already bought it, which I know most probably already have. But yeah, oh yeah, this is the station building component. So you can actually like make different, first of all, you have to steal the blueprints or buy them from factions, which you have to work through faction quests to get. And then you can build your own space stations all around the universe. Like you can see all the front parts of that station I pieced together and turned and connected. Then you can set up like ships as subordinates and they go out and get you resources and trade for what you need. You can then hire construction ships to build up your stuff. Like it's so cool when it works.
That's a lot.
It's so cool when it works.
Huh.
But yeah, it's just the issue right now is they need to make it working. And as I said to the devs who are watching the stream, I don't care what you say. That station component's a penis. I mean, cut it any way you want to. Well, actually, don't cut it, please. But it's a penis.
Yeah, please don't cut
that's
it.
Where we are with that.
You don't need to. It's unnecessary.
Jesus Christ. How much is X4 right now, Co? Is it 30, 40 bucks?
X4 is currently, let me take a quick look for you here. I should have known that. Oh, Lord, I somehow ruined my Steam. Oh, no, there we go. Okay, X4 is currently $50.
Oh, okay.
So it and here's the thing, like if it worked, it would probably be a no-brainer recommend for me. But right now, since it's not quite working, you may want to hold off on it for a little bit. But I will say this, if you do get X4 and you do like X4, there is almost no question that you will put more than 50 hours into it. I had 500 plus hours in X3, and I did not do everything there is to do in that. Now, granted, that game had 2 expansions under its belt, which this one just came out, and they're still trying to get it working properly. But I have no doubt that X4 will one day get there. The devs have been patching this game like crazy. They released a roadmap talking about having a major patch out before Christmas, and then even their plans for the next major patch. In the last 4 days, they've released 3 beta patches, which they are constantly talking to the community about how they can make better and stuff. So it'll get there. It's just not there yet.
Well, there you go. That's X4. Someone asked in the chat if we had talked about Darksiders 3. I think we did, like, very, very briefly. Zeke, did you've completed it, right? Both of you have completed it? He's not listening.
Darksiders 3? No.
Okay,
I haven't.
You haven't finished? Okay, I know co-finished it. We'll bring up some footage here. Is it good? Do you guys think it's worth a playthrough?
I was waiting for the patch of the camera and field of view, and then I got bogged down with other games. I do want to go back to it. It's worth going back to, but I ranted about that fucking camera for a long time, and I put it down, and I was like, not until they fucking do something about this shit. Apparently they did.
Cool. What did you think of it?
I finished the game on Apocalyptic, which is the ridiculously hard difficulty level. I had over 200 deaths. It was a lot of fun, and I thought it was enjoyable. But like I say in my thoughts video for Darksiders 3, if anyone wants the rest of it, you can find that on my YouTube. The big TLDR of it is the whole game felt like a lot of okay. I don't feel like the game did anything like really, really well. But everything it did, it kind of did okay, except the camera, which forced me to use mouse and keyboard over controller. By the way, Zeke, something you may want to try. It's super alien at first to play a game like it with mouse and keyboard, but being able to whip your camera around wherever you want it, right when you want it, changes the way that game feels. It really, really helps because the camera with a controller, you are wrestling with it the entire time because the game moves at a speed which the moving camera controller just can't keep up with. Even if you set it on the max speed, it can't keep up with how many enemies are on the screen and how fast they move. So yeah, that was one factor that really helped. But yeah,
I tried it with mouse and keyboard. I did it with mouse and keyboard for a little bit, and you're doing the same section that this is the last thing I left on because I had to do this fight. Like I hated the fight with fighting with the camera in a small enclosed location with a difficult battle. I was just like, this is more frustrating than it is satisfying. Fuck it. Like it's, and I'm playing on Apocalyptic as well, and it's a good difficulty. But you didn't. You already completed this fight. Okay. I'm done. No. This on the screen.
I got you.
Yeah.
But no, this
and I tried it with
the first time. 30 plus deaths. I think it was really tough.
I tried it with mouse and keyboard, and it didn't. It didn't change it enough that I felt like it was as beneficial to me. Because the lock-on system is funky because you lock onto somebody and it like keeps you there and you can't move like around the camera. Like you're locked onto an enemy, but you can't move the fucking camera around, which is kind of ridiculous. Like it's not like
well, the biggest issue
in Dark Souls, or am I stupid? Is that the same thing?
It kind of did, but the biggest issue with this game is the off-screen indicators are absolute garbage. They're garbage.
Yes.
Enemies will attack you, and they won't even show an indicator. And on apocalyptic difficulty, in some case, that's a third to half your life that these little minions are going to be hitting you for. And I mean, there was a recorded instance in my playthrough that actually someone sent me a clip later where I was fighting two enemies, and one got behind me, and the enemy killed me, and as the dying animation was going on, the hit indicator popped up on the screen that he was attacking. And it's just like, I was in the process of losing my life. As it showed that I was. So yeah,
they should have just taken a page out of like Batman or any of those action games. Put it over top of your head. Like when you're going to get hit, like put like the Spider-Man, like Spidey sense, or the Batman's like little, yellow. It's like, you're going to get hit. Like it's like on the sides of the screen. And it's so fucking light sometimes, or doesn't show up at all.
Yeah, it just doesn't work a lot of times. It just will not. It will not work. And what's even weirder is if you can even see a pixel of the enemy. So if like the enemy is off the side and charging up for a super powerful attack, if you can see the tip of his elbow, then you're not going to get the indicator that he's doing anything.
That's correct.
it makes zero sense. But yeah, those are the little things that kind of make a potentially great game an okay game, because you're constantly wrestling with that the entire game. It never gets better. And after that fight with the big angel guy Zeke, there's like 2 or 3 more distinct fights that are even more frustrating and annoying. It gets pretty rough. But yeah, well, the story was good though. I do want to say that the story was good. The ending was interesting, and like it did make me want to play the other Darksiders, if nothing else, just because I didn't even know this was a prequel. Until I got to the end. And then it's like, wow, if all this stuff happened, like now I kind of want to go back and see where it all goes, because there's definitely going to be a Darksiders 4. I think we can safely assume. So
if it sells well, that's the thing that I always look like. It's remarkable that this game exists because the other 2 Darksiders historically have not sold well. And so like the resources going into this are quote light. And I think a lot of the reasons why things like the on-screen indicators and stuff like that maybe missed a step. It's because they just didn't have enough money to go back and polish that stuff and iterate on that stuff. But my understanding with the story is that all 3 games and potentially the 4th take place at the same time after like an event happens in the beginning where the 4 horsemen get split up. Is that not the case? Does it touch on that?
They're not. If they're happening at the same time, it's definitely not in parallel.
Okay.
Because I really remember very little from when I played Dark Souls 1 and 2. I mean, we're talking like 10 plus years ago for me.
Darksiders.
But there's a specific character in this one that is in the other ones in different locations and places. So there's no way that he could be here in this one and also in those places in Darksiders 1, I think it was. So yeah, like if they may kind of like overlap here and there, and there may be some connectivity, but I do not believe they're all happening at once.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool. Zeke, anything else on Darksiders 3? You got to go back and finish it?
I want to so badly. I really do. Because I mean, when it's fun, it's exactly what you want. It's fun. It's challenging. It's action. It's high. There's no downtime. You can jump right into battling and have fun. Yes, I'm going to go back to it eventually. I don't know if I'll do it on my broadcast, but I would love to finish this game.
All right. Okay.
Cool.
Where do we go from here? Let me take a look at the time. We're actually due for a break. So I think we'll take a break. We'll come back. Ko's finished and played Oberdeen. Zeke still has not, so we'll be spoiler light on that stuff. Talk a little bit about that. Zeke has a bunch of indie stuff that we want to get to before the year is up. Yeah, just more games. There's not too much news going around right here at the end of the year. Twitch had some stuff that occurred, which is not really the biggest thing, but we'll probably bring that up in just a little bit of a news segment, and then that'll put a cap on drop frames for 2018. So we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more.
During the break, if you want to vote, you can go vote on the Drop Frames Game of the Year poll.
Yes, yeah. itmeJP/GOTY. Some of the games, there were duplicates. Some of it has already been fixed. Some games which are early access on Steam but have come out on other platforms were in there as new games. Path of Exile was one of them because it was supposed to come out on the PlayStation 4, but it didn't. It got delayed, blah, 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 blah. So all that stuff is kind of fluid and changing. But for the most part, everything's there. And I think we're also going to put favorite character to just be a write-in rather than a drop-down because it's almost impossible to throw every character in video games released this year, but we'll figure it out. We'll still be editing that stuff throughout the day and throughout the week. So let's take a break. We'll be right back with more dropped frames right after this. We'll see you guys then.